After my father's funeral, my stepmother convinced me to get out, basically. She told me there is a secret in the family that my dad didn't want to tell me because he didn't want to break my heart, but now that he's gone, she doesn't care about my feelings, so she's going to tell me. Well, it turns out I'm adopted. Yeah, I'm adopted. I never would have thought that. I mean, my father never told me, and we were like this close. But guys, I promise there's so much more to this story. Let's start from the beginning, and I'll walk you through every single step. My stepmother just dropped a bombshell on me before kicking me out, and now I don't really know what to do. Imagine finding out that your whole life is a lie. That's something I've only ever seen happen in movies, books, or maybe the occasional newspaper article. You know, things like that don't really happen to me. I have the most normal life possible. This is why I'm struggling to come to terms with what I've just found out. I don't know if I'm telling my story to strangers, hoping for advice or pity. All I know is that I need to tell someone. The only people who know what has just happened are my best friends and his grandmother. They've been kind enough to take me in, even though they're also struggling, you see. My best friend Brendan told me his grandmother did not hesitate to help me because of the way that my father has helped them over the years. The same father lied to me about who I was and then left me with nothing. The irony is so funny. I mean, why would he do that to me? I get that his death was untimely, but at least I deserve the truth. Maybe he was planning on telling me the truth when I turned 18, but now it's too late. He's gone. My stepmother is the one who told me the truth about who I was, and then she kicked me to the curb. Like I was not even a person. You know, Meg, my stepmother, and I have had our differences in the past. But as the years have gone by, we've been more cordial towards one another. I understand that my dad loved her, and she was going nowhere, anyways. She understood that I was my father's oldest child, and he would never choose her over me. She had a child within a year of marrying my father, and her daughter is now 12 years old. I've always had a normal sibling relationship with my sister Kayla. Kayla was her mother's daughter, and I was my father's son. That was our family dynamic, or at least the gist of it, and we were living a normal life until the day my father died. My father, he had a massive heart attack at work, and he still looked young and healthy, but his heart had never been strong. He was on multiple chronic medications for many years, and unfortunately he collapsed one day, and he was gone within a minute. It was a couple of weeks into my senior year, and I had to be pulled out of class when that happened. If I had known it was my last day at the school, maybe I would have talked to the girl I liked for the last time. The funeral happened, and right after that, my father's will reading was conducted. Since we're minors, my stepmom did not allow me and my sister to be present. A couple of days after the will reading, she told us that we were moving out of town. She was going to put the house up for sale, and I've lived in this small town all my life. It did not make sense for her to just tell me that I had to leave. I confronted her about her unreasonable choice and begged her to reconsider. She told me that she was now my legal guardian, and what she said would happen, and if I did not want to do what she wanted me to, then I could just simply leave. I knew I could not just simply leave. My dad's side of the family all lived in that town. I could not handle the upheaval, and I was not that close with them. As for my mother's side of the family, she had absolutely no siblings, and her parents were dead. I know no one from her family, and my stepmom was the closest to a parent I was left with. I was 17, with no money, no plan. I was backed into a corner, and I had to reluctantly say goodbye in the short time that she gave me, and then move on with her. So, we moved into an apartment in another city. She was never in the house, and she made me responsible for my sister. She had not enrolled me in school yet and kept on making excuse after excuse, and she told me that my father made a mess of his estate and life insurance, and she was trying to clean that up. Eventually, I gathered the courage to ask her about my inheritance. Well, at that point, she loses her temper and went to ask me if I was calling her a thief. She said that she was doing so much for me with her own money because Dad's assets were simply not released yet. She asked me to at least be gracious and patient, and, well, guys, I tried, but I had a very bad feeling about what she was up to. I'd never trusted her nor liked her, and she did not like me or owe me anything. Why would she have my best interest at heart? It turns out that I was right to be that weary of her. She had a lot that she's been keeping from me, but it was far from what I initially thought. I started becoming resentful of her because I had to stay at home all day, do nothing, and help my sister with homework. I also had to do all the house chores because Meg was never home. I started to get very frustrated, and soon I could not keep quiet anymore. I told her that she better get me back in school soon because she was being, well, a B-word. She gets so angry and tells me that she had actually had enough of me. She did not see why she had to continue taking care of me when my father left me with nothing. The least I could have done was work for my stay by helping her around the house. And guys, since it was clear that I wanted to be the head of the house and control her, she felt it was best for me to leave. I was still stuck on the parts where she told me that my father left me nothing, and I told her that she's a liar and that she must have forged some sort of will. She told me that she was not that desperate and she knew the reason why he left me absolutely nothing but felt sorry for me to tell me. I told her to say whatever she wanted to say because at this point I was so sick and tired of her. She was doing absolutely nothing for me even though she was supposed to be my legal guardian. She rolls her eyes and then she just tore my whole world apart. She tells me that the reason he left nothing for me was because I was adopted. I wasn't his real son, so he didn't leave me anything. I asked, how could I be left nothing? She told me that the only thing he left me was a small amount to live on. He had left everything to his wife and biological daughter, and I could not believe what she was telling me. My father loved me. How could he keep such a thing from me? I mean, I was his son. I looked just like him, and she told me that the whole time she had actually been trying to get some information about my birth parents so she could send me back to them. All I could do was sit there and be silent. I couldn't believe it. She was lying to me, and I told her that she was a liar, and that she was trying to get money for herself. She gets angry and tells me that she was actually sick of my attitude, and she's been trying to help me, but I was clearly ungrateful. She refused to stay with somebody so disrespectful and felt that she did not need to prove anything to me. She told me that my father left me nothing because in the end I was worth nothing. He and his real family, which consisted of his wife and his daughter. And I get very angry, and oh boy, I said a few choice words. She made me so furious with her lies, and then she gets angry. And the next thing I knew, she was telling me to be gone by the morning or she would call the police on me. So that night, I hardly slept because I was trying to organize a place for me to stay. I took the little money that she gave me the next day and made my way back to town. I'm now staying with my best friend Brendan and his grandmother until I make a plan. Update number 1. This first update came out 6 months after the original post. Here it is. I did not think my post was going to get any comments or any support, but oh boy was I wrong. I managed to get some encouragement to finish school and make a life of my own. I decided to stop wallowing in self-pity and ask myself why my father did this to me. You know, I'll never know. All I know is that I'm alone and I'm responsible for my own survival. My friend sells some t-shirts and stuff that his grandma makes on the weekend, and I took some of the money I had and invested it in the small business. We now work together on the weekends to sell the stock, and since there are now 2 of us selling, we're able to bring in some good money for food and essentials. Brendan has been doing this for years to support himself and his grandmother. He plans to go to community college as soon as he's done with high school, and I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Even before I lost my father, I did not want to go the mainstream route. My interests lie in design and art, and I've been looking at some affordable online programs from when I finish school. Hopefully, we'll be able to make it through this year and make something of ourselves. I never knew how lucky I was till I got this position. Brendan always seemed normal, never tired or complaining about the situation. I helped him out the best that I could, but he was always very, very humble. Now that I'm in this position, I admire him for doing this for years. I've been working every weekend, and I'm constantly exhausted, and I just want to sleep as I'm writing this. But I still had to finish up my homework. We plan to take a day off on the weekend and just rest and study for some upcoming testing. Grandmother has been really helpful with the studies because she's a former math teacher. Now, I know why my best friend's always been insanely good at math. My life could have turned out way worse than it actually is right now, and I do have a roof over my head, I have food, and I'm living with some pretty good people. I could have been on the streets if that witch of a stepmother had her way, but thankfully I am not. I'm going to carry on doing this, working as hard as I can till I get where I want to be. I've learned that everything happens for a reason, no matter how much it can suck. There's no use in me sulking and being angry over circumstances that I cannot change. And wow, this is how it feels to be a grown-up, huh? My father would be so amused if he saw me now. I still call him my dad because that's who I've known him to be. No matter what Meg says about our relationship, he's my father. Update number 2. Guys, this one came out 2 years after the first post. Here it is, update 2 years later. I can't believe that 2 long years have passed since I graduated high school. I have all but forgotten about this post in my past, and see, after high school, I've always looked forward. I left that small town and went to look for work in the big city. I followed the advice of one of the commenters. You see, they told me that if I'm in a small town, I must find a way to get out and get to bigger opportunities. Even though we know there's risk involved with that, I do think it's worth it. Brendan stayed and went to community college, and we're still in touch to this day. There was somebody in the comment section who told me that from the way that I described my altercation with my stepmom, I came off as disrespectful. The comment went on to say that if I had been nicer, maybe she would have given me the little information that she had about my real parents. Bold of you to assume that I want anything to do with my birth parents, isn't it? I mean, why should I? So that I can be disappointed again? The only family I have is that one that I choose. I've not spoken to anyone from my dad's side since the funeral, and I assumed that they would not reach out and have to deal with the aftermath of me finding out the truth. Since they did not reach out, I didn't either. That is, until I got the wedding invitation from my cousin Bryce. You see, I know of Bryce, I just don't know him. I'm only one picture of us, and it was taken when we were toddlers. He sent an email to me saying that he's been trying to reach me for a few months now, but to no avail. He found my old email ID and hoped that it was the right person. He attached our picture from oh so long ago, and he said that he was getting married. And his wife wanted to have a very big family, and her family was huge, and she wanted him to invite every bit of family members that he had. He said that he remembered a little bit about me from where we were young and made the random decision to contact me. He also revealed that my grandmother had not seen me in years and wanted me at the wedding. I've not responded for days as I've thought about it, but whether I wanted to open that can of worms yet. After thinking it over long and hard, I realized that maybe she had answers for me about my dad. She was his mom after all, and she had to know that I was adopted. I spoke to my girlfriend about it, and she thought that it was a wonderful idea. I think she just loved that I was allowed to bring a +1, and she never really has been to my hometown. I could also not use work as an excuse because I now work as a remote graphic designer. I studied while I worked, and I put all my effort into it. I started to have a few clients until one of them decided to hire me permanently. Now I had a well-paying job, a girlfriend, and a small circle of friends. I was not quite sure where I wanted to be yet, and there was so much that I still wanted to do, but so far I was content. So I tell my dear Gemma that I did not even know my cousin that well, and besides, I was not related to him by blood. I had simply come to terms with the fact that the father I grew up knowing was actually not my real dad. She told me that it didn't matter. It was a chance to get out of the city and get some fresh air. She felt deserving of it after how hard I've been working in the past year, and I could not relax. I'd gotten so used to having such little time to do things and working on a strict schedule. Going to a wedding, which is in 2 weeks, is not on the schedule, but Gemma was adamant that it would do me good. She said that if I did it, then I would not have to do date night for 2 weeks when we come back. Well, I do enjoy her date nights, but I hated going out and socializing, and I'm the complete opposite of her when it comes to interacting with people. But I guess, it comes in handy. She socializes for both of us, and I have enough calming energy for us, and I trusted her to know what was best for me, so I reluctantly agreed. So in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to see my father's side of the family, and I wonder what they're going to have to say for themselves after the way that they neglected me after the funeral. Not a call for help or anything like that, and not even a text came through. Now, I'm going to get my answers, and I'm not sure if I even want them, to be honest. But it's been 2 years, and I need to put this part of my life to rest so that I can carry on. I'm determined to build a future for myself that's not affected by my past. My stepmother might have told me that I would amount to nothing when she kicked me out, but I'm going to prove her wrong. Well, I have to go now, guys. Gemma already wants to start packing before I can even RSVP. It goes without saying that I'm going to tell you everything that happens there. Update number 3. 3 weeks later. Hey guys, well, I'm back in town. And I'm even more confused than ever before. All that I've believed with very strong conviction over the past 2 years seems to not be it. I was right when I thought that there was something fishy going on with my stepmom. She covered her tracks well and probably did not think that I would stumble upon the truth. Life works in very weird ways. I'm very thankful to Gemma for pressuring me to come to my hometown. When I arrived for the wedding, my cousin picked me up and took me to Grandma's house. She was more than happy to host me and my girlfriend, and when I saw her, I did not know how to feel. She tried to be friendly, but I could not find it in my heart to return her warmth. The only thing going through my head was that she was just being nice to me simply out of pity. On the other hand, Grandma and Gemma got along like a house was on fire. Nobody could separate them from each other, and the only thing I knew of each other for less than a week, but they were always together. This is how Gemma ended up letting slip something. I'd forgotten to tell her not to talk about my adoption. It was a touchy subject that I was still gathering the courage to speak about. So imagine my surprise when one day, Grandmother cornered me and told me that we need to have a serious talk. I had no choice but to agree, and we finally had the dreaded talk. She told me that I should have hold on to Gemma because that girl really cares about me, you know. She said that she cared enough to confront my grandmother about my adoption, and I tried to explain and tell her that I was sorry that she got ambushed. Instead, she starts to laugh, which confused me. I asked why in the world is she laughing, and she asked me who told me that I was adopted. So I told her the whole story about how I was adopted and how my father left me nothing, and she then said that it made sense why my stepmother refused to take calls from her now. She's been trying to reach us for years, but stepmother ignored it. It was thanks to Bryce that she ended up finding me. She said she was getting old and wanted to see me before she passed, and she said that she was sorry that I had to go 2 years questioning my dad's love for me when there was no need. After telling me that, she took my hands in hers and told me that we were related. My father never adopted me. It was all a sick lie by stepmother so she could drive me out of her life and sink her fangs into my father's estate. Well, I was shocked. I was mad. She played me for my money? I should have never trusted her, and guys, the wedding, it went well. Before I left, Grandmother told me she had a feeling my father left me quite a lot of money. And stepmother was hiding it. She told me to look into what happened 2 years ago, and she had a feeling there was way more than meets the eye. Well, what an interesting trip, am I right? Update number 4. 1 month later. I'm so glad that I found out the truth, but it was late. That meant my stepmom forgot about me, and she carried on living her life, thinking that she had gotten away with dumping me out of my legacy. She never saw me coming as I investigated every single aspect of her life. It's funny how much you could find out about a person if you really put yourself up to it. Well, with my girlfriend's help, I was able to find out some very incriminating things about my stepmother. Gemma is an amazing investigator. She found out things about my stepmom that I was shocked about. That reminded me to never cross her, and I was going to make sure that Meg rued the day she decided to steal from me. I'll not tell you every single thing I found out about her, but I'll tell you what is relevant, right? 2 years ago, when she moved us away, it was because she had lied that she was taking me to an expensive boarding school. She then kicked me out so that there was no way I could come back and claim what was mine. She forged some acceptance letters, which she gave to the lawyer, and since I was a minor and under her care, no one looked too carefully at it. My girlfriend was somehow able to get this information after I failed, and after finding this out, I looked into her financial activities over the past couple of months. She has been unable to sell the house for the price that she wanted, and so now she was running an Airbnb out of it. This was good news for me because it meant that I could still get the house back if everything went according to plan. When I looked through her social media, I saw that her quality of life had greatly improved since the last time that I saw her. She was constantly going on trips, shopping, and spoiling her daughter. Even though my father had provided her with a good life when they were married, I'd have to say this was very extra. She was just busy eating away at what was meant for me, and it made me angry. The rage that I feel every day when I wake up threatens to consume me, guys. I want her to be on her knees, begging to help when I'm done with her. She's going to cry and wish for mercy when I get my revenge. She doesn't see this coming. She smiles and laughs as if all of this is borrowed time. She is on borrowed time, and I'm going to bring that law down upon her and take everything. I'm sure that this is what my father would have wanted. Finally, he's going to be able to rest in peace. I hope this goes well and that the law is on my side, seeing it's been 2 years now since it all happened. Update number 5, 3 months later. I finally did it. And I took my stepmother to court for stealing my inheritance, and you should have heard the way she freaked out when she got served her court summoning. She was losing it, telling me that I had it all wrong. She still tried to convince me that I was adopted and I had no right to my father's estate, and she even went as far as to tell me that if, I wanted, she would tell me who my real parents were. I told her not to bother because my grandmother already told me everything that was not known. I told her that I could not believe that she was so disgustingly greedy. I was not going to have mercy on her. The least she could do was confess, and she laughed and said good luck. And I was never going to get anything. She had no idea how much I managed to dig up on her, which made it so much fun. I hung up on her while she was still speaking and told her that I was going to see her in court. As expected, she started to harass me, trying to find a way to straight up intimidate me and to get me to drop the case. Obviously, it did not work because I was no longer that scared little boy who had just lost his father. I was now a young man who wanted to see justice being served and who would not fall for her lies. She then got the brilliant idea of trying to contact my girlfriend and feeding her lies about me. She told Gemma to be careful with me because I had a very violent past. This was my first time hearing about my so-called violent rage. I sent her a message ASAP as soon as my girlfriend told me what had been said. I told her that if she wanted to add defamation of character to the list of charges against her, then she should just say so. Otherwise, it would do her good to stay away from my girlfriend and everyone else in my life. I had information about her that would have her own daughter despise her if she wanted to try me. She did not try to contact Meg again after that, and I was very stern when I warned her, and even gave her a hint about what I knew. Since then, the only interaction I've had with her is in court. This case, guys, has honestly been dragging on, and I just want it to end. There are so many technicalities, and she's fighting me as hard as she can, and despite all of that, I'm equipped to fight her to the end and get what I want. She's not going to walk away with what was meant for me. All the lies that she's telling about me in court are not even credible, and that is the only real evidence that she has. She must just wait. When I'm done with her, she will not be so smug. Final update number 6, 2 months later. What did I tell you? She was not going to be so smug by the end of the court case and ended up regretting how it all dragged out. It revealed some things about her that she wanted no one to know. Basically, she's gotten married before and tried to get money out of the men, and sometimes she succeeded and sometimes she simply did not. She had a child with one of them, and when she failed to get alimony, she abandoned that poor child with her father or the child care and would not see her kid afterward. You can imagine how my sister felt after what happened. She called and said that she was now staying with her aunt, and she was very mad at her mom for all the lies that was told all those years. Apparently, she's been bad-mouthing me for years and claiming that I abandoned them. At least now she knows the truth, and we're back on speaking terms. As for the court case, I won, and I got everything she owed me, along with some money for the emotional distress that she caused me. Since she had also committed fraud and forgery, she got 2 years in jail, but could get out sooner on good behavior. Yeah, knowing her, she'll get caught up in something that she is not supposed to and stay longer. As for me, I'm just happy that I have my father's house back. Even though it does not look the same anymore, she completely redecorated everything and got rid of every single memory of him. Gemma wants to help me redecorate it, and honestly, I don't mind. She's a wifey, to be honest, and as some of the people in the comments said, I should not wait much longer to propose. What do you guys think?